on the cloud. And here we go. Admit all, she said. I feel so powerful. Zoom makes me feel like, I'm like opening doors and unmuting people. Hello, hello, voice actors of the world. Yes, Dina.
Hello.
I look forward to seeing you every dang week. Hi, hi, hi. I've got beautiful people here. John, welcome. Great to see you again. Hello to Keith. Hi, Ellen. Thanks for coming. Heck yes, Romy, welcome. Great to see you. I see Tim, Jade looking fly in her screen. Wow, that lighting is everything. What's up, Peter? Hello, hello. Nice to see you. I am just, opening the Zoom room here and admitting the people. Tony by the water, idyllic as always, with the backgrounds making me feel, like I'm able to travel. Imagine. Hello, Dion. Nice to see you. Hi, Maxwell. Come on in. Cool, cool. Hi. Great, great. Hi, Susie and Kenny. Hi. And here we go. Rocking on. Okay, yes, yes. Welcome, everyone. If you want to drop in the chat where you're tuning in from, we are certainly global, particularly today. Hi, Luke. Hello. I see you in the chat. We've got Connecticut and we've got Brazil. That's the thing. That is the T. I say that phrase wrong. I'm so bad at it. David, welcome. How are
Hello.
you, David?
Hello, everyone.
Great to see you all. Okay, yes, we've got London, we've got Wyoming, Silicon Valley, Vegas. I'm a fan of that place. Oh my gosh, Nicole, I'm going to say that you're saying that to me. Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. All right, Miami, when things get better, I'm coming to you. Okay, everyone. Pittsburgh, what's up, PA? What a time. So, hello. This is our Edge Studio 16th session of Ask Me Anything, which is bananas. What day is it? I don't know. But I'm happy to be here. I look forward to this. I'm quite an extrovert and I really miss human beings. So, yes, hi, 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 hi from Rhode Island and Houston, also great city. My Floridians, I love to see you. So, yeah, so here at Ask Me Anything, we just gather every other week to talk about all things video. Myself and my dear friend and Chief Edge Officer, David Goldberg. And we have a special guest who I'm pretty jazzed to introduce you to. First, I'm just going to check in with David and say, hey, David, what's up? How's it going?
It is fantastic. Good day. It's warm outside, guys. In the New York area, it's 72 degrees. It's beautiful.
I went for an autumnal run around the park at Prospect Park today, David. I thought of you because David actually runs like every day at like 5 a.m. So, it was in your spirit, in the spirit of you. It was not 5 a.m.
No
though.
longer do I do the very early morning runs because either a fox or a wolf or something ran between my legs recently and tripped on the road. It was about 5:30 or so. It was pitch black and possibly the scariest moment of my life. I was fine. I wasn't hurt, but it was scary because I'm in my own zone. Headphones, I'm cranking some probably Journey. This came up last AMA, and uh, there was something between my legs, and it was moving fast, and yeah. So now I wait for the sunrise, and then I go out.
So we're here for voiceover, and we also provide action and adventure, which is David's near-death experiences with animals. So
Well,
the way
far
our
from near death, just near heart attack is what it was.
near heart attack, same. Um,
I
we
guess so.
The way these sessions work, y'all, is if you're new, if this is your first time, welcome. We will be asking You'll be asking questions in the chat, and I, your friendly moderator and host, will be facilitating the questions to our superstars. I will try to get to all of you. If I do not get to all of you, it is not that I don't love you. I'm trying to be judicious. If you ask multiple questions, I might just pick one question instead of all of the ones that you pick, and I will do my best to get through everybody. You are muted, not because I don't love you and your beautiful voice. It's just calms the chaos of our Zoom experience. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel. You can find it through our social media sessions, as well as just subscribing to our YouTube, and you will have access to it. It will be public for everyone, so you don't need to panic if you are not taking copious notes as well. And with that being said, I would like to gear your questions in a very particular way today, because I'm actually genuinely jazzed to introduce you to my friend who is our superstar and guest star today, Jason Birmingham. So if you don't know Jason Birmingham, he is a voice actor based out of Brazil. And he came to Brazil working with country music television, where he was building studios, which is where he met his wife, Simone Cleas, who is also here in the house today, whatever, I'm pretending it's a late night show. And so Jason's approach to VO, actually, which is very beneficial to us today, is a technical and business point of view. So he and Simone sell their work internationally, and they do lots of remote recording in the global market. So he's a producer, and he's also an author of the Sound on Sound magazine's Producing Professional Voiceover series. He and Simone have given talks on the global voiceover market at South by Southwest, VO Atlanta in the United States, the Voiceover Network in England, as well as all over Rio. He's got a Hacktown, Path, the Pixel Show in Brazil, which I believe they are curators of Pixel Voice, which is Brazil's leading voiceover event, which does mean we have some bilingual humans in the house. And I know that we have had many bilingual participants here at our sessions. So today is a great day to talk about the global market, international things, multiple language kinds of things, accents, lots of stuff that we've been curious about before, and we have not been so lucky before as to have a guest with us. Again, all of our guests are here donating their time and space to be with us, so it's quite a treat. This is Jason. Jason, how are you?
Very good. Thank you. And before I start, let me throw a little bit of love back to you guys. Siobhan, first of all, you did such a great job setting this up. I think this is one of those times that we can use, these changes that are happening so quickly to our advantage, and seeing 100 voiceover artists from around the world online together to share ideas is just, to me, amazing. And David, when I started out because I'd always worked in the industry for about 20 years, but as an actual voiceover talent, I'd say about 10, 15 years ago, you were the person that really gave me so much support at the beginning. I used Edge Studio for all of your resources. I learned so much through you. And it's just such an honor to be here, and to be able to give back a little bit to all these people out there.
Yes, we've got a thumbs up from David and just lots of gratitude in the space. Everyone who's just trickled in, welcome, welcome. I've got 100 people here, and I love to see it. So we're just gonna dive in with questions, and I am gonna get into it. So let's go into. I'm like digging through the place. Oh, here, David. I got you. Hi.
Thanks, Siobhan. I was muted there inadvertently, and I was unable to unmute. Thanks, Siobhan.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a first question that might be Jason specific here. From I think it's Hannah. Jason, do you know much about dubbing? And what the question I'm seeing here says, how does that differ from VO? I think it may not differ from VO, or can you tell me, do you have experience in dubbing, or what are your thoughts on that in a general kind of way?
Yeah, when people think about the international market for voice, the first thing that comes to mind one of the first things is dubbing, because it's obviously when you do any sort of English programming abroad, it has to be dubbed to other languages. But ironically, I've never done any dubbing. We have a lot of friends that do dubbing. It's a completely different area. And until COVID hit, you really couldn't do it remotely. You had to be in the studio, and you had to be, on site. We have a lot of good friends now that are doing it remotely. They have, with the broadband, and you have the software, you can actually do it from afar. But what we're going to talk about today, and this is the big point with the international market, is that a lot of people don't really realize what kind of work is out there for American, or not American, I'm sorry, English speaking talent in non-English speaking countries. So if you speak English, you have a home studio and you are, kind of selling your work locally, you should be selling your work globally. And you should be selling it specifically to countries where English is not the first language, because that's where you don't have as many competitors. And that's where we're going to try to help you learn how to do that today a little bit. And I'm not seeing everything in the chat, but please share ideas as far as what kind of jobs are out there. Simone's here. She's kind of in the chat, so she's going to share some great ideas. I saw Lawrence Schum, who's there with his mask on. Lawrence, can you say hi with your, there he is. He has a production studio here. He does a lot of work with English speakers in Sao Paulo. So it's really important for you guys to kind of meet each other, share ideas, and we can talk more about that during the session.
Yeah, so Jason, I have a quick question from Alexis. And she was just sort of an intro, I guess, of like she's like, how do you sell it globally? What does that mean?
Well, the first thing is you got to create an online presence. And that means you don't need to necessarily right away do a website in 7 different languages, but you do need to do a website that's simple, it's clean, it's obvious. If somebody that doesn't speak English goes onto your website, they can see right away who you are and what kind of work you do. If you're looking at the global market, you might be thinking about putting some of your demos that are more focused on e-learning, on corporate videos, the sorts of things that people in Brazil are looking for. For example, I'll just give you one example. In Brazil right now, because of COVID-19, all of the international companies are redoing all of their training programs, and they need English language talent to redo it, because every time somebody comes to one of their plants or one of their factories, they have to have a video that plays when people go in that speak English and tells them what are the norms. All that has changed in like 1 month. It changed back in March. And so a lot of the work I'm doing, for example, is recording these new safety videos, and that's just one area. So put a safety video demo right up front. And this is something a lot of people don't talk about in the States. I say the States because I'm American, but in your regional areas, a lot of people say don't put a photo on your website. I think you should, because nowadays you meet people like this. We're looking at each other on Zoom, and this is how we build trust, and this is how we meet people. And so it's okay for people to know what you look like. And when you do start engaging your clients, then you have to create this atmosphere where you have what's behind you, what kind of microphone are you using. You see on my screen, for example, when I did this intentionally because I knew I was going to see a lot of voiceover talent today. I use software so I can actually show them the waveform as I'm recording. I worry about the lighting. And so I'm much more concerned about what people are seeing and making sure it's as good as what people are hearing. And that's going to really help build that trust that you need in the international market.
Jason, are you able to boost your mic levels? Because the people desire.
How's that sound? Is it
Oh,
loud?
yeah. Good.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks, Jason.
cool.
I just wanted to throw in one quick thing. Just in case people are unfamiliar with the term dubbing or what exactly it is, I presume that everyone has heard of the word, but not a lot of people know necessarily what it is. So, Jason, while you were speaking, and thanks for what you said, I brought up just a list of common usages for dubbing. So, just so you know, dubbing is essentially the act of replacing a voice in recording. Whether the voice was recorded improperly, there's noise in the background, the voice needs to be changed, it needs to be dubbed into a different language. There are all different reasons why dubbing exists. And it's used in these locations: in film, educational tutorials, video games, television shows, cartoons, animated productions, sound alike, and also for walla, which is also known as murmur, like for background talking in a movie or a show. So I'm not sure if that's helpful, but there you go.
Great. This is awesome. Okay, so sort of on in that realm, business type question, Jason. Do I need a federal tax ID for my voiceover business, and how does that work globally?
Yeah, that's one of the big things about the global market is you really have to study what region you're going to, you want to work in. For example, I work only in Brazil, and I only record in English. And I have so much work in English here that I haven't really made an effort to expand to Europe or to other areas. But I know from my colleagues that there's that amount of work out there too. And so I know that in Brazil, for example, I'm an American citizen, but I do have a Brazilian company, and that helps me a lot because if I need to issue an invoice, but a lot of times people are fine just paying through PayPal. And so because I do pay taxes in the United States, that's okay. I can pay, I can receive the money through PayPal. I paid my taxes in the USA, and it can be done that way. But understanding how payments are handled differently, what laws are different, and even like social things. For example, in Brazil, this is a big thing that Simone and I talk about in our talks during the festivals. Is it simple things like WhatsApp? That is how all production studios, book jobs in Brazil, all of them. And so if you're not on WhatsApp, you're not going to find jobs in Brazil. So immediately install WhatsApp and then, create, if you get a demo done with Edge Studio, you can talk to David and maybe David, I'm sorry if I'm overstepping. I'm not sure how this works, but you could do short sound bites that people could send on WhatsApp, and then they wouldn't have to listen to a 2-minute demo. They could just listen to that specific thing they're looking for. But understanding those little things helps a lot. And David, is that even possible, something like that?
Yeah, it sure is possible. It's more so a voice 1 2 3's approach these days, right? Where you have individual little snippets of styles rather than a full playing demo. So, but what you made me think of, Jason, is what I think would be helpful for listeners to know is if they are working on an international project and it comes time to invoice, should they bill their client in US currency if they are in the US? Or should they bill their client in the currency of that particular country? Should that be discussed up front? Does it not make a difference? Can you talk about this, at least with respect to Brazil and the US?
Yeah, if you're working in Europe, for example, if it probably wouldn't make that big of a difference. But in Brazil, it's tricky because our real here is about 5.5 to 1. So people are a little shy about booking things in US dollar because it sounds really expensive when it's converted.
Hmm.
So if you go through WhatsApp, you can put the price in as real and it'll show you how much you're going to get in dollar. You might want to go ahead and do it in real just to make it sound more, make it friendlier and just give them less work of having to convert it and figure out how much they're going to have to pay. I would always charge in the currency of the country, but always know up front how, when you send them that quote, make sure it's within your fee.
It's very smart. I will also say that about a third of our production customers are international. And one of the things that's helped us over the years is understanding the culture of the client that we're dealing with. Just understanding how they approach scripts, and is a director the same there as it is here? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. And just a word to everyone dealing with an international client, doing a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, just 15 minutes or even an hour can really help please a client. You can understand where they're coming from and how best to act professionally with them. So I would always suggest putting in a bit of homework into when working with a client in a new country.
That's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say a few things. The WhatsApp is, you know what? It's so funny. I deleted it because I've done some volunteer work in Greece, which was the last time I used WhatsApp, and I don't know why I didn't like it or whatever, but like Jason had asked me about it, and I've done some theater work with some UK companies that were like, let's talk on WhatsApp, and I just like I need to get it. Everyone should get it. Let's just suck it up and get on WhatsApp. Americans were so behind in so many ways. So I think so that's important. I also want to say because it came up at Edge Studio, we do offer breakout spots. So if you record a demo with us, we can also you can also have a breakout spot, which I think is what Jason was kind of referring to. So your isolated spot from your demo that you might submit via WhatsApp to these clients. I mean, this is like the modern world in so many ways. I wanted to say also, so from Judy, hi Judy. How do you approach, there you are. How do you approach rates for clients in Brazil and South America in general? I'm guessing that they are different than what they are in the States. Yeah, so like this is, I mean, we're all kind of like rates, oh no, like at least maybe that's me. I'm just speaking for myself. Like I get anxious, like I already start sweating when I start talking about money. But Jason, how do we stop sweating when we talk about money globally?
Don't sweat, just charge them. You know, what I do is honestly, and I'm not pitching this, I use the Edge Studio fee card, and I just translate it to real. It's really close to what people expect to pay here. You need to remember, just like anywhere else, don't come into a new country trying to get jobs by underselling yourself, because that's how much you're going to get paid the rest of your life, um, or the rest of your career. So go in, know your worth, even if it's going to be expensive for them. They're going to get, what are they getting when they hire somebody that's a native speaker? They're not just getting somebody that speaks the language fluently. For example, my home studio in Brazil, anything I buy, oh, Eduardo Muniz is there. Hey, Edu. Edu is my our very close friend. He is living in Los Angeles, and he's been such a big help with equipment and things like that for our home studio. And for me to get equipment here in Brazil, it's really expensive because I have to ship it. I have to pay 100% tax on everything I buy from in the States. So if I buy a Neumann 103 here, it's going to cost me twice as much as it would if I were living in the States. So people in the States have access to equipment half the price as production studios do here in Brazil. So often somebody with a home studio in the United States or in England or in Australia will have better equipment than a professional production studio in Brazil. And so if you can put on your camera and you put on your website what kind of equipment you have, that sort of thing is going to really help you sell your work and justify the fees. So if you're charging what Edge Studio asks you to charge for corporate video, for example, people know that they're getting a fluent, speaker. They're going to pay through PayPal. They might pay a little bit more, but they're going to get great quality, and it sets them apart because they're working with somebody that's from another market and from a very competitive market. So the people that are working in these markets usually are people that understand how hard it is to get these jobs and really take them seriously.
I want to also emphasize, y'all know me, and I like to emphasize this. And I think, and Jason I agree actually with Jason about your website and your photo and photos that he's talking about. Make sure it's a good photo, my people. Talk to some people in your life and be like, is this a good photo? Talk to some honest people in your life. Use that portrait mode on your phone if that's what you got. That's actually a pretty good means of taking a picture, but do right by yourself and don't put up something that is 50% when you're 100%. Also, Jason, quick sidebar, as we're discussing WhatsApp, we've got a business version and a non-business version, I think. What does it matter? What's the deal?
Well, the business version, it comes across a little bit more professional, and it does have some tools that you can use. For example, you can put tags on things. So if you have somebody that you need to send them an invoice, you can tag it, I need to send an invoice, or this person hasn't paid, or this person has paid, or this person's on my blacklist. So it just keeps it a little easier to keep people organized.
Okay. Okay. Copy. Great, great, great. And Jason, I want to ask you if you don't mind giving us just a little bit of your kind of, origin story. I know I sort of gave a sweeping, broad stroke about how you came to Brazil, but I also was interested in understanding, because you are a fluent Portuguese speaker, but you do all of your work in English, you said. So I found that to be very interesting, and it surprised me. And I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how you got to where you got to, and the kind of things that you ended up doing at this point.
Well, here, I think, is Simone still there? There she is. I'll give Simone all the credit here because she insisted for years that I should be looking at voiceover as an opportunity, as an option for a side career. And since I was in, video production and audio production, I knew the industry, but I just didn't see why there would be a need for voiceover in English in Brazil. And what happened is that it kind of started with, we have these advertising festivals down here, actually all around the world. And the production companies want to win awards so that they can, put them on their shelves and get new clients. And to win awards like it can, you have to send a 2-minute video in English explaining what they did. It's just like a film case. And there's like hundreds of these that have to be recorded every year. and they're in English, and you charge pretty much like you would charge a corporate video. So I started there. I just started doing these film cases kind of as a side thing. And there were just so many of them coming in that I started using them to get other things and corporate, corporate work. And it just sort of it just turned into this thing where I could just focus fully on just doing voiceover. But again, I've always really approached it, and this is the important thing that we talked about, and that David has always, made such a strong point about this, is it needs to be approached as a business. You can't, it's not about having a great voice. It's not about having this amazing demo. Those all help, but it really needs to be approached as a business. And for Simone and I, what it really comes down to is relationships. It's building good relationships with clients and keeping those relationships. And I'd say, 50 to 60% of my work today, even more, is from returning clients. And it's just easier for them if they find something that works. Why?
I think we've lost Jason. Luckily, I see Simone getting up.
Well,
Just so everyone understands, so Simone, Jason's wife, is in the same apartment, but she's just one room over, just watching. So she's gotten up. Thank you, Simone.
Simone, oh, he's coming back.
Yeah. So while he reboots, Siobhan, do you want to ask another question? Maybe one that would be targeted more for me?
Sure. Should we do a tech thing? Simone, do you want to talk, or we'll just carry on? You want to talk? Yeah? Is that a thumbs up?
Yeah. Oh, let's hear from Simone. Simone is, by the way, no one has mentioned this, but I believe that she is ranked the #1 female voice actor in all of Brazil. And hopefully everyone knows that Brazil is no small population. I think it's the 4th most populated country in the world, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe the 5th. If anyone knows, you can let me know for sure. But so this is a serious acknowledgement to Simone. She's phenomenal in the voiceover world.
Hi,
And she
Simone.
just finished a most amazing project. Maybe even talk briefly about the project that you just finished. It was outstanding.
Pixel Voice. Oh no, the line? Which one?
The thing you worked on last week, the live thing, yes.
Yeah, the Pixel
Multi-day.
Voice, Pixel Show. Yeah, there's a lot of people here. Edu was talked in the event. Paola is here. She went to the event also. Susie is my student. We have a lot of Brazilians here. Yeah, our market is growing, David, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We're not as organized as your market, United States, but we are getting there. We are getting there. So, and congrats on the great work that you have been doing, Siobhan, David. I really appreciate. No, you know that's true. You know that I admire you a lot. I'm very proud to be working with you. You know that it's true.
I just posted her Insta in the chat, so you can follow her.
Ah.
I'm always impressed by the depth of work that she does. Yeah, and she has a very darling accent that we love. Oh, Jason, are you back? You made it? I'm looking. Yeah, welcome. Okay, cool. Jason's back and in action. Cool. We lost you. It was very exciting.
Well, Simone's so much better at this than I am, so I'm glad that she stepped in.
Okay, so where were we? I'm gonna keep jumping in actually, if we're cool. Or wait, Jason, is there something that we left off that we didn't get?
Just to finish up the idea of the film, not the film festivals, the advertising festivals, as a point of, a starting point for a lot of the work I was doing. And that's something I think people here should be looking at. And I was just going to finish up by saying that it's really important too to build kind of groups, because if for example, the production companies I work for always ask, oh, who can you recommend that does female voiceover in English? Or, do you know anybody that's a Spanish speaker? And so if you know people, if you have these groups, and often it's a WhatsApp group, and you can just kind of recommend each other, it's a great way to build work quickly.
So Jason, okay, so we've had some conversations about like what avenues should one take to find global voiceover work. And I think one of the things that you sort of started to talk about was kind of picking a region. Am I right in that assessment?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, Edu, he lives in Los Angeles, and so that helps him because of the time zone differences. So often, if you know that you're available, let's say you're doing voiceover as a side thing, and you're usually at home between 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's your window when you can do a lot of recording. So try to figure out where in the world 5 p.m. to 8, well, let me change that. Let's say 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is your window. Try to figure out where in the world that would be like late afternoon, because usually in the late afternoon is when everybody's panicking and they need stuff quickly, and the agencies are like something's late and they're just rushing to find somebody that can do it. So if you're available at that time, that's a country you should be focusing on. I focus on Brazil because I live here, but you could really focus on any country. If you have, if you speak some Spanish, then focus on Latin America. If you speak some French, you can focus on countries in Africa or even France, and just kind of look, what's a good fit. Because even if you don't speak a language fluently enough to record, just being able to communicate, and like David said, being able to send it like a short message in the language, things like that, it makes a big difference.
Mm. I have a question from my friend Dina, who is asking about Source Connect and IPDTL common ways. Are they common ways to connect for a directed session internationally, in Brazil specifically? Can we talk a little bit about that sweet, sweet tech?
Well, David, do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are using at Edge? Because then I can talk a little bit about what we do here in Brazil. But I'm curious to hear how you guys are using it, that kind of technology for during the pandemic.
Yeah, well, we used all of the technology prior to the pandemic. We use it more now, of course. And I mean, we totally rely on it in our production department. So we commonly use Source Connect and also IPDTL. We no longer have ISDN. There are a few places out there in the world that still have it and even rely on it, as I understand, but it was pulled from our market. We had no choice. It came back. It was pulled again. It's been some back and forth. Um, but if knowing what I personally know, if I was getting into the voiceover world, I would not look into ISDN, and rather I would look into the more, I believe, what is more mainstream remote connection software out there, and which again is Source Connect and IPDTL. And we've had this conversation come up in a number of prior AMAs or Ask Me Anything. So I don't want to go too far in depth. You can always listen back to some of our previous hour-long discussions and probably get some information on them.
Great. Yeah, here in Brazil, we have access to right now at our home studio. I think we have 300 mega or something like that. So we can use we can use Source Connect, but a lot of these services are American and charged in US dollars, so they end up being really expensive. So most of the time, what we do is we hook up on Zoom, like here. I took off the software, but I can actually show Simone in the booth where she's at right now is our recording booth. And so they can direct live, and then I'll usually just upload the file directly to Dropbox, and as soon as we're done, they just upload it. It's really quick. The only thing is they can't do takes on the fly and things like that. So for those situations, we do use Source Connect. And if you're working in a foreign country, then it's always a plus if you put that on your website that you have that. And a lot of production companies here, for example, if they know that you can have Source Connect in the States even, yeah, they'll probably choose you over another that doesn't, because they like to have that control.
But I will also say that we have a lot of clients who use Skype and sometimes Zoom. And we have clients who just put everyone on speakerphone. And of course, there are lots of clients we have who just don't even want to participate in the recording sessions. They just, cast the voice actor, or we help them cast, and they say, Edge Studio, go and do your thing, and we send them files. So at that point, we're not even connecting remotely at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just a word for everyone's invoice. If you have a client who is connecting remotely, make sure, if possible, charge by the hour, because the more clients on the phone or Skype or Source Connect or whatever, typically the more clients present during the recording session, the longer the session takes. Because they get into the weeds and they start nitpicking everything and asking for multiple takes. And So if you're charging a set rate, a project fee, let's just say, to use a round number, $100, and you have 7 clients on the phone, that session is going to go multiple hours. So at the end of the session, you might think, wow, that was not good of me to charge $100. I should have been charging by the hour. So keep that in mind when putting together or sending out an estimate. One of the things you want to ask from a client is, how will they want to record? Will they want to connect? How many people will be on the phone? Um, you may want to put some terms around your project fee if you have a one-time project fee as to how long the session can go before you start adding on additional finance. But anyway, it's just things to think about.
He's right. I was running a theater rehearsal on Zoom last night where people are being paid by the hour, and I was like, oh man, this. But it's the way to go. So where people are talking about, Jason, if you can delve a little bit into, you're speaking about like groups on WhatsApp that kind of talk about these kinds of gigs or opportunities. And Dina was saying that Law was suggesting Bodalgo Call for non-subscribers. Or can you kind of flesh that out a little bit, like what that means or is?
Well, I think what's happening in our market, or maybe it's just within our circle of friends, is that because things have become so impersonal, where you have these pay-to-play websites and everyone's, competing against hundreds and often thousands of other talent. What really makes a difference today is just having this close-knit group of professionals that can get the job done quickly and well. And so for example, one thing you should all be thinking about is not just building a network with other voiceover talent, but people, if you're going to go into the global market, but people that offer other services that can help. For example, a translator. If you have a good translator that can do translation from Spanish to English, that's just one less hoop the client has to jump through. So they can say, okay, we've got this script and I need it voiced. And you say, okay, send it to me. I'll translate it. I'll voice it and we'll send it back to you. If they already have it in English, often they'll want you to review it and make sure that it sounds okay. And you have to be careful because sometimes the owner of a company sends you a script that his son, who's studying English, translated, and he's so proud of the job he did. You don't want to say it's terrible, but you do want to sound professional. So usually what I'll do is I'll record it as is, and then I'll offer some suggestions and let them, make the decision. But the more you can build this network of, and it's really about people more than it is about websites. It's people that offer these services, people that do editing, that do translating, that do revision, that, anything that you will need to get that job done quickly and they don't have to go after all these people themselves. They can just issue one payment and they're done, and it'll look great. And often, production people that have access to soundtracks, things like that. So, just think about the whole product.
Mm-hmm. What is Bodalgo Call?
I don't know. I know Bodalgo, the website, but Bodalgo Call, whose question was that? Maybe they could tell us more about it.
Maybe Law.
Oh, let Law tell. He knows a lot about this sort of thing.
Yeah. Law, can you tell us if I unmute you? Would you? Yeah.
Hi, it's a free tool. How are you? It's a free tool for remote recording. I use usually for recording talents that are outside Brazil. You don't need to subscribe Bodalgo to use this completely free of charge online tool. You may not even to log in. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
And let me
I'm gonna write down the link to you right now.
Yeah, drop it in the chat. Thank you.
And just for anyone who doesn't know, Bodalgo is another online casting site like voices.com and Voice123. They're more international. They're smaller than Voice123 and voices.com, but it's a terrific company. They do really good work. They have terrific clients. So if you work internationally, then you should certainly want to check them out.
Awesome. Okay, and we've got some Bodalgo Call fans in the chat. You guys are great. This is great. So what else, y'all? These are excellent questions. Jason, can you talk a little bit about like accents and how so you're coming from, do you, or first of all, why do you not do any recordings in Portuguese in Brazil, being that you are fluent in this language?
Well, I've lived here 20 years and I speak Portuguese, but I still have an accent, very slight, depending on the time of day. Sometimes it gets thicker, but I still have an accent. So often I'll get a job, for example, during the Olympics, and they want somebody that sounds like a gringo that lives in Brazil. So that's great. That's right up my alley. But if it's a corporate video or corporate read, I wouldn't do it in Portuguese because it just wouldn't sound, unless it was specifically an American, it wouldn't sound, the voice would, the accent draws too much away from it. So if you have a slight accent, you can use that to your advantage. But often what I've learned is I've lived more of my life outside the USA than inside. So I think that maybe my English has become sort of international, where it's not specifically American, but it still has a little bit of an American accent. Because a lot of times I hear clients asking, are you British? Are you American? Where are you from? And I usually just say I have like a CNN neutral American accent. So it's just sort of, it doesn't get in the way of anything that if you're just doing a corporate read to people. And another big thing, and this is another important takeaway from the session today, is that often if you're doing auditions for the international market, often an audition that you do won't sound to you like it's good enough to get the job, because what you want to do when you do an audition for the international market is remember that most people listening to this don't speak English as their first language. So it's going to sound a little almost like didactic, and you're really clear and everything's really concise, and you're pronouncing every syllable. And in the States, they want it to sound really, natural and sloppy. Blah, blah, blah. But here, it's not that way most of the time. They want it to sound very clear. And so if you send them, send in an audition that they listen to it and they say, I can understand every word that person's saying, that's going to help you a lot to get the job. So don't be afraid to send in auditions that are just very clear. You don't need to add a lot of pizzazz. They just want to understand what you're saying, and for you to say it in a friendly way and, convey the message and the point that they're trying to convey to their clients.
For your remote recordings, this is from John. A lot of the remote recordings we're talking about now, and especially globally, from a different country, is video important for these sessions, Jason?
I don't think so. Not so much for the remote recordings. And one of the things that's happened a lot with the pandemic is I've noticed that I've seen things on the air here on the biggest TV channels in Brazil that were recorded on an iPhone. People are letting quality slide a little bit because we're just in a situation that we've never been in before. So if you're doing a remote, recording, I don't think in that case it's really necessary to have the video. The video is more to showcase your home studio, to build that trust with your client. Remote recording is more about sound, and so then you can go ahead and climb into your pillow fort and set up in a however you need to set it up so it sounds good and know that nobody's watching.
From Dina, do you find that you have to correct or make suggestions to scripts translated into English? And then do you charge extra for that labor?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's a tough one, because when I started out, I always corrected things, and I learned it got in the way a lot of the times, because a lot of times here, when you get a script, it's been approved by, the director of the company's approved it. And if I change one word, it has to go back and he has to, or she has to approve it again. And so if it's really, really bad, I give them a second take. But if it's not that bad, I just read it like that's how I would talk, even though it's not. But
Wow.
but if it gets in the way of understanding, absolutely, you need to let the client know, and you need to be upfront with them.
David, does Edge do script edits for our global clients?
Yeah, and exactly as Jason said, it depends on the personality of our client. It also depends on what the job is for. If it's a corporate job that we are translating into another language for a client, we want to be extra clear. But if the client sends us a script that they have translated, And if they don't want us to make any modifications, we often will have the client sign off on it, um, just to cover our own rear ends. So it really does depend on your relationship with the client, the type of client, the purpose of the recording. There are really many variables to consider.
Um, Jason, I have a question that says from Kathleen, could you give some ideas on whom to send auditions to specifically? I think folks are still kind of, wondering like what are some first steps to getting started? I know we talked about having your website be really clear, simple, polished, not cluttered, so your international clients aren't confused, so if that's like your first step is making sure that your presenting your digitally presenting self looks good, what would be the second step?
Well, there's lots of, you have to be creative. Years and years ago, when I used to leave the house, we, when you travel, you could actually go, if say I'm going to France, I'm going to Paris, and this is we have since Simone also works in voiceover, she's okay with it. So we can actually in advance contact a few production companies there and say, oh, we're going to be in the in the city, maybe we could swing by and meet you guys. And that's a great way to meet clients because you're already there, and not very many people do that. um, there's lots of tips. I mean, a great one is I'd mentioned the advertising festivals. So if you go on to the Cannes Lion website, there you're going to see all of the the film cases that have won awards. And so there you go into the credits and you'll find the advertising company, you'll find the production company, and you know that they're going to be sending out more work. And so those are people you could send your demo to and say, look, I know you're going to be doing more of these film cases, and I'm an English speaker, and I'd love to work with you. And if you need, somebody that fits my profile, send me an email and I'll get right back to you, or send me a WhatsApp and I'll get right back to you. So often it's taking that direct approach, and internationally, I found that people are a little bit more open to that. If you get in touch with somebody that doesn't speak English, they might like the opportunity to practice their English with somebody. It's like a free English class. They can write emails back and forth. So they enjoy that contact, and it's easier. But like David said, it's all about building the relationships. So for example, David's example with the scripts, you never criticize, you offer your help. So it's all about creating this trust and building that relationship. And then the job will come in or not. But that happens naturally. It's not about going after the job, it's about going after the relationship.
Quickly, Jason, what headset are you using?
This is one of those. It's an Audio Technica. It's the ones that you use for the sports announcers, which is why my voice sounds like a sports announcer. I usually have a very different voice.
Sports announcer in a gamer chair.
Yeah, isn't it? That's another international market tip. Chair's the most important thing in your house.
Yes, I've heard this. I have not adhered to this yet, but one day. I like this question a lot from Susie. What would be some key differences you notice between the American and Brazilian market?
Well, please, everyone that's familiar with the Brazilian market, chime in with me on the chat here. And just off the top of my head, I think it's cultural. For example, payments. An American, when they say they're going to pay you in 10 days, they'll usually pay you in 10 days. In Brazil, it could mean 10 days, it could mean 20, it could mean, a month or 2 months or 3 months. So since the relationship is the strong point of this whole thing, you have to be patient and you have to be open and honest and just kind of go with the flow of things and focus on the communication, put things up front. We don't do a lot. For example, I've rarely sign NDAs in Brazil, which I find odd because when I record in the States, I always sign an NDA in advance. Here, usually, if it's in an email, it's good enough. So you might set up an email that's sort of like a template, and then just use that email for all your international clients because it's got all the information that you need. When it needs to be delivered, how you're going to charge, what the policy is, where it can be aired, how it can be used, how long it can be used. And that sort of serves as good enough for a contract. So those things vary from country to country. And I'm speaking just of Brazil. So, for other countries in Asia, and it's probably completely different.
Simone says in Brazil you don't have agents. How do you do things without agents?
Can you unmute Simone? She could talk about that because she does
Ah,
a lot of work with
I
sort of
can.
non-union. Yeah.
Yeah, non-union.
Hi, I don't need to be on mute. You can ask that, Jay. You
But
can answer.
your accent's much better than mine.
No, yeah, we don't have agents, we don't have union, we don't have casting directors. So our market's very different. So we have to do everything. We have to prospect the clients, negotiate the jobs, and charge for the money afterwards. So in a way, for you, if you want to enter our market or other markets, it's good because you don't need to have an agent because there's no agent here in Brazil. So you can contact direct the agencies and the clients and the producers and show your work and negotiate the rates and everything directly. It's good, it's tough, but it's the way it is here. I don't know in other countries. So each country has a different style and different way to work. So this is cultural, and I think it's important for you to pay attention in um, different cultures because it's just a tiny thing.
Yeah. Cleon is in Jamaica, and they're saying that I can definitely relate because it's the same thing in Jamaica. So yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so we are getting a little bit down to the wire. So Susie's asking, Jason, would you say that the normal rates in Brazil are similar to U.S. rates, or do they vary, drastically?
No, they're very similar. And, maybe some people here would think the US rates are a little high, but no, I always charge the US rates, and it, often they'll want to negotiate and things like that. But yeah, it's not, like I said, I use the Edge Studio rate card a lot as sort of a base. So for sure. And just one thing, going off what Simone was saying, Simone does a lot of work here for virtual reality, cross reality, augmented reality. She voiced a film that just won an Emmy, and that's, thinking about that kind of area, technology is something that you wouldn't think about for Brazil. But if you're interested in that and you've done work for that sort of, those sorts of projects, that's another thing you could plug if you're reaching out to a client internationally, because those are areas that are growing a lot here and probably around the world.
Yeah, I'm actually involved in a lot of like immersive performance kind of events and experiences, and so Simone's work has had crossover in some of my other worlds, which is really cool and exciting. Um, so Shahira is asking, and I'm curious where you're based, Shahira, but they're asking, as a new person wanting to dive in, hey, New Jersey, hey, hey, if you're wanting to dive into this part of the industry, what would you recommend to establish groups and relationships, cross culturally? I mean, as we talked about these conferences and some of, and Dina dropped one of them in the chat, which was amazing. And any other just thoughts from there?
I am not on social media. Intentionally, I've gotten off social media. But, at the beginning of my voiceover career, I used it a lot for groups, because a lot of times the groups are international. And so if you're meeting people on Facebook or in these different groups, I think you just need to be really upfront and say, look, I'm really interested in working in your area. Could you give me an idea of how it works? Maybe, the good thing is if you're meeting a voiceover artist from Brazil, you're not competing with them because they're not going to do native, voiceover in English. So they're usually pretty open about sharing their contacts, depending on your relationship with them. But it's just, it's just building a base. It's like I said, David, at the beginning, you were so important to my career as far as coaching. I know you guys do these great coaching sessions and you offer these great resources. And I've noticed that even here in Brazil, a lot of people are using Edge Studio resources. So you've become a reference, a global reference for voiceover. And it's just building that community, like this is going to be on the internet later on. Go and see all of the people that are in this group, and these are people that are interested in the market, and so they're probably people that have worked in the market and learn from each other, hook up and share ideas. I feel like I'm speaking a lot today, but it's all about listening and sharing ideas.
Yeah, we have the privilege of having you speak with us today. And I know we're wrapping up. David, do you feel that there's something that you would like to ask Jason in our last 5 minutes that hasn't come up quite yet?
Wow. I wish I thought about that earlier. Nothing comes to mind offhand, but in our last few minutes, I'll think of something. I'll try to stump him. Jason is pretty unstumpable. Um,
Uh,
uh,
I know that Judy's asking, are ad agencies and marketing firms developing apps, experiences, and skills for smart speakers? Are those popular in Brazil? Does that question make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. That's a very big area. There's a great group right now called Women in Voice. It's a group that was created talking about smart speakers and the fact that many of the voice assistants are female, and how we need to work, going forward with some of the issues that's created. Simone she works with the group here. She's an ambassador for that here in Brazil. And she does a lot of work with this AI and that sort of industry, and understanding how that works, where it's going to be a threat and where it's presenting opportunities is, I mean, we could talk for hours about that, but it's a great area to look into. And like I said, talk to Simone. I'm sure if you're interested in that area, she could tell you more later. And she has you can find her. She's on the webpage for Edge Studio, right? For the classes she gives.
she
So
is, yes.
find all her contact information there.
Mhm.
And but yeah, it's again, you don't think of Brazil for tech, but it's really, really booming here.
And to that end, okay, I'll do one more question. Jason, how do you think the Brazilian market is open to Brazilians who have international experience?
Well, yeah, if you can do a read in English, if some of the people that work the most here are people that are trilingual, because everybody here needs to speak Portuguese, English, and Spanish. Those are the three languages that all corporate videos, safety videos, everything is produced in. So usually it's three different people, but if people can do three, wow, then you're set to go. So if you're Brazilian and you can speak English and maybe Spanish, it's playing your strengths. Figure out what you're good at and be honest with yourself. Don't oversell yourself, and let people know that I live here, but I'm aware of other areas, other markets. I've done work in other markets. That's always a big selling point. Get
Um,
people get people on your website to write testimonials, that sort of thing. If you've worked with people in other countries, just a few phrases, that always helps as well.
Oh, it's such a good point, and especially specific to your international experience. Also, Law just put some awesome stuff in the chat here about his productions, his studio in Brazil that requires voice talents from different nationalities for English educational projects. So, what I would recommend at this point in time, and my people, is to put your information in the chat, particularly, for me, social media, your Instagram or Twitter handles, so that we can be sure that we're following each other. And I will post, yes, and I will do a follow post on our socials. If you are not yet following Edge Studio, you can find us on Twitter here at just simply Edge Studio. And then our Instagram handle is Edge Studio VO. That is me. So if you if you DM or have conversations on social media, I'm also on Facebook. You'll be speaking with me if you have questions about today or anything moving forward. And additionally, as we like to do as a gratitude to you all for joining us, we have a $25 off of coaching here with us at Edge. So if you just type simply the code AMA when you go to this link, you can get 25 off of a session with anyone of our coaches at Edge, which includes our dear David, as well as Simone. So if you would like to speak with Simone about these things further, talk about international stuff, do some coaching session in general with your global, potentially voiceover skills, then you can work with her directly and talk about this Women in Voice and some of the other things that she does, and have a session with her. Dawn, it's great to see you again. So glad you're here. And then the thing that I would also suggest you do, because there've been some very wonderful information in the chat here, I would suggest clicking that little ellipses at the bottom of the chat, and then you can save the chat. That's your first option. So then you have all of the links and guidance and fun people, as well as social handles here. Jason, any last closing remarks?
Well, I just want to thank everybody. It's so wonderful to see such a great turnout, and I'm looking at all these faces around the world, and it's a pleasure to be here. If you need to reach out through Edge, and we'd love to share more ideas. And just David, again, thank you so much for being such a, being there for us these last 10 years. You've done so much for us, and it's just an honor to be here with you today. And Siobhan, congratulations to you too for putting this all together.
Thank you. David, any last closing remarks from you, my friend?
I so much appreciate Simone and Jason and Siobhan, your moderation here. And most importantly, I appreciate everyone joining us. As I say every other week when we have these sessions, this is a highlight of the week. It's really fun. It's today was extra special for me just to be able to sit back and learn some stuff from Simone and Jason. So thank you guys for that. You all ask terrific questions. You dedicate yourselves to joining in, and so that is terrific. And thank you. I wish you all a fantastic 2 weeks, and we will be back. Is it November 5th? I think is the next Thursday. If someone can confirm that with the calendar.
Which is
I'm
why
doing that from memory. Yeah, November 5th. We'll be back.
We'll be back November 5th, and we appreciate all the love you're dropping in the chat for Jason. I want to say from myself, Jason, it's great to see you, my friend, and Simone, also my friend. I'm so happy to be with you. If you are not on our Edge Studio newsletter, it's a good idea to get on it so that you can join our global market class the next time we offer it, and you will get an alert about that in our list. I know we've done it a couple of times, and now I'm putting pressure on to do it again. I don't have any power over that. I'm just, putting that out into the world. But that's a class, of course, everything we're offering is remote right now. And so, yeah, it means a lot to me to have you all here. And I appreciate this wonderful group of people and our ability to talk very specifically today about this very thing. Jason, thank you for spending your time with us today. Simone, thank you for being with us today. David, as always, it's a pleasure to hang out with you every other week. And to all my beautiful people, yeah, we love you and we appreciate you. And I'm saving this chat currently. Thanks for all the love. We really appreciate you. And we shall see you on social media. And then we'll see you again on November 5th. That'll be with just me and David. And we can we can go to basics and general all over the place questions. We'll handle the things that we didn't get to today then, okay? Mwah. Big love, big hugs that I'm not actually touching anyone with, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.
Ciao.
Bye, everyone.